Hi, this is Greg from Greg's Bass Shed. Welcome to the lesson. In this lesson I'll show you how to play a walking bass line. First of all, I'll show you how to do a walking line over a 12-bar blues, and then I'll go on to show you how to play it over a jazz blues. A walking bass line has a note on each beat. So in 4/4 that will be 4 notes in each measure. Later on in the lesson I'm going to show you a note that will radically improve your walking bass lines and giving them more flow and more interest. So make sure you watch the video all the way through. Throughout the video there'll be musical examples, and I've written all these down and put them on a PDF. You can get those by clicking the link in the description below, and I'll send those to you. I've also got tabs for all those exercises if you need that. Again, the link will be below in the description. Remember also after this lesson to check out my website gregsbassshed.com. I've got loads of free resources on there. I've got a page with all my popular videos and more information where you can sign up to my mailing list and look at what other resources I've got. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find all the details of this again in the description box below. So sign up to those and join in the conversation and find out what else I'm doing at Greg's Bass Shed. Finally, before I start the lesson, can I just ask you that if you find this video useful, can you please like and share it? This really helps me get any feedback on the lesson, and also pushes me up Google a bit so everyone else can find my video lesson. Also, you can share it with anyone you think might like it. First of all, we're going to look at a 12-bar blues. Now, a 12-bar blues is a really familiar sequence, and you would have heard it on countless blues tunes. 12-bar blues is based on a 12-bar pattern or 12-bar sequence that's repeated over and over again for the whole song. There are often variations on this sequence, but they all follow the basic 12 bars. So if we look at that in A, we've got 4 bars of A7, 2 bars of D7, 2 bars of A7, a bar of E7, a bar of D7, a bar of A7, and then a bar of E7. Now that last bar or measure changes. Sometimes it's just A7 again, or it's a turnaround, which is a set of different chords. So there's different endings to each sequence, but we'll cover that in another lesson. So this is a simple walking bass line over a 12-bar blue in A. So we've got this pattern, and that's repeated over the whole sequence and changes when the chord changes. So first, if we play that in A, start with your second finger on A, so the 5th fret of the E string, and then 4th fret of the A string with your first finger, and then 4th finger on the 7th fret of the A string, and then first finger on the 4th fret of the D string, and then second finger on the 5th fret of the D string, and then back down again. So that's the basic pattern over A, and all you do is you shift that pattern to the next chord. So you start on the D, or if it's E. So try and play that yourself, but first of all we're going to look at root notes. So we're going to play the whole blues sequence just using root notes. Obviously you can play these root notes anywhere on the neck, so A, these different places. But we're going to play the root note for a whole measure or bar, and then if it stays the same for the next measure we're going to play the octave higher, so that's 8 notes higher. So for this sequence we're going to play A, 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 and then D. So with me, 1, 2, 3, 4. So A, 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 D, D, A, A, E, D, A, E, So before you play a walking bass line, it's important that you know where all these roots are. So familiarise yourself with this and make sure you know where they are. If you need help, then look at my video number 31, Conquering the Fretboard Fast. There should be a link to click on here now. So have a look at that. That will help you get around the fretboard. Now we'll look at adding thirds and fifths to our walking lines to make them more interesting. So first of all, we're going to stay in the key of A. So first of all, let's play the first 5 notes of an A major scale. So if you start with your second finger on A, 5th fret of the E string, 7th fret, and then to the A string, 4, 5, 7. So from that we can get we know our root, which is A. We can get our third, which is there, and then our fifth. So root, third, fifth. And that's actually a major arpeggio. That's that shape there. Again, I've got a lesson on arpeggios. If you need help with that, then have a look at those. They're really, really useful to know because they outline the chord tone. So root, third, fifth. So we're going to play the whole 12-bar sequence using root, third, fifth, third. So beat 1 root, beat 2 third, beat 3 fifth, beat 4 third. So I'll play that for you first. Right, to play that, we'll play the pattern first on A, so and then we can move it up to D, and then when we need it we can move it to E as well. So we're going to use these 3 root notes here, so A, 5th fret of the E string, D, 5th fret of the A string, and E, 7th fret of the A string. So we're going to play that whole sequence. So after 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. A, 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 D, D, A, A, E, So practice that sequence yourself, really get that comfortable in A, and then you can try it in different keys. So you can do a blues say in E as well. So look at the chords that I've written down the sequence and try and write it out yourself in E. Remember, you can get these bass lines and the chord sequences written out with tab by clicking the link in the description below. That will be really helpful for you to go through those. We'll now move on to a jazz blues. This part of the lesson really ties in with 2 of my previous videos. Number 37, 5 steps to start playing bass guitar, and number 38, play a jazz turnaround on the bass guitar. So you might want to look at those 2 videos afterwards as well. So I'm going to give you the sequence in A for a jazz blues. A jazz blues is more often found in the key of F and B flat, but I'll keep this in A so you can compare it to a normal 12-bar blues. So a jazz blues is A7, D7, A7, A7, D7, D7, A7, and then all in one measure you've got C sharp 7, F sharp 7, and then you've got a measure of B7, a measure of E7, and then you've got A7, F sharp 7 in one measure, and B7, E7 in another measure. Now those last 2 measures or bars are called a turnaround, a jazz turnaround. So again, you can look at my other lesson to find out about turnarounds. So you'll notice some additional chords have been added to the basic 12-bar blues sequence, and these chords really give a jazz feel to the sequence. Earlier on in the lesson I mentioned that there was a note that would change your walking bass lines and make them sound much smoother and flow a lot more. So this note is a chromatic note, and a chromatic note is one that lies outside of the scale of that chord. And we can use these chromatic notes to link smoothly to the next chord. In the next musical example, we're going to play root on beat 1, third on beat 2, fifth on beat 3, so that bit's similar to what we played before, and then we're going to play a chromatic note on beat 4. And in this example we're going to play a chromatic note that's going to be above or below, a semitone or half step above or below the root note of the next measure. So in A, before we played root, third, fifth. And in a jazz blues we've got one bar of A7 and then a bar of D7. So we play an A7 and then we play a chromatic note, and then that's beat 1 of the next measure for the D. So we lead naturally to that D, to that root note in the next measure. So root, third, fifth, chromatic, next root. So try that with me. 3, 4. Now I'll play you an example of me doing root, third, fifth and chromatic note over the whole jazz blues sequence. You'll probably want to have the PDF to see this written out. Remember with tab as well, you can get that in the description box below. I've used a mixture of chromatic notes above and below the root notes. So as I said before, leading from A to D and then D, that's back to A, so chromatic note below. So look at that example and play it through, and remember you can make up your own examples. You don't have to use the same chromatic notes as I've used. Try and mix it up and use different notes. And you can also practice this walking line in different keys. So practice it till you're really comfortable with roots, thirds, fifths and chromatic notes. And obviously after that you can add more style to your playing by adding muted notes, triplets, you can use octaves, you can use different chord substitutions. But for now, just concentrate and really get those basics, because once you've got the root, third, fifth and chromatic notes down, you can pretty much make up any walking bass line. And as I mentioned earlier, if you need any more help with your jazz playing, then look at my other 2 videos. You can look at playlists actually on my channel. You can look at the Learning to Play Jazz playlist and you'll see those 2 lessons and this lesson in there. And also over the next few weeks I'm going to do a few basic backing tracks from the iReal app, and I'll publish those to my YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe. The first one I'll do this one in A. I'll do one for a jazz blues and one for a basic 12-bar blues. So you can get these backing tracks, they'll be minus bass, and play along with them and help with your practice. Well, that's all for today's lesson. Make sure you get the PDF and start working on your own awesome walking bass lines. If you found this lesson useful, then please like and share it, and also check out my website gregsbassshed.com. If you've got any questions, then leave them below in the comments box, or you can email me. That's greg@gregsbassshed.com, or email me via the website.